A very warm welcome this afternoon. For those who don't know me, my name is Bruce. I'm one of the co-founders of Yoga Alliance Professionals. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar on SEO. So over the years of doing coaching and consulting and talking to yoga teachers and studio owners and trainers, one of the number one things we get asked about is SEO. So pretty much most people know the acronym SEO, search engine optimization, but they don't really know how it works and how it affects them and how it could potentially benefit their business or help you grow your business, how to stand out in a saturated market. So I've invited Nick along from the yoga marketing team. You'll have seen we're just in the midst of launching our new yoga marketing setup. So Nick's kindly agreed to come along and give us a talk about SEO, explaining what SEO is all about in simplistic terms and how it can benefit you and your business and your growth. Now, Nick's happy to take questions throughout. So if you've got a question, you can jump in, or there's a Q&A button at the bottom you can see where you can leave questions there if you don't want to jump in, and there'll be a little bit of time at the end where we can go over some of the Q&A things. Also, hang on to the end because we've got a ethical bribe enticing offer for you if you're looking for us to do some SEO for you. So if you hang on to the end, there'll be a really special offer coming all the way to you guys. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to Nick, and I'm looking forward to hearing this as well. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I'm excited to speak with you and talk to you about how SEO works. I know it's a very complicated thing, but my goal is to take the complication out of it and make sure that we have a simple way to speak to SEO and the value of it. Now, Bruce, I've got a question for you, along with you, Amy. If you want to respond as well, that'd be great. When was the last time you used Google? Do you think you used it in the last month?
The last 5 minutes.
In the last 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
I always ask that question.
when
was, and I always say the last month because it seems so funny, right? Now, think about your business owners, think about your customers, think about anybody in this world. They're going to say the exact same thing. So we need to make sure that we're prioritizing what's happening on Google and how we're speaking with it to make sure we're getting the best opportunity for our clients to be able to see us. Okay. Now I am going to share my screen. Just want to confirm we're able to see that. Are we good? Beautiful. All right, let's get started. So let's talk about how important it is, how SEO works, and then timelines. And then we'll make sure that we answer any questions that weren't answered throughout the presentation at the end. Okay. So let's talk about the value of SEO. Think about it. Within our SEO, right, what we're able to achieve and the way that we've set it up is we are tracking 2.3 million keywords a month. Last year, we had 78,000 keywords reach page 1 of Google. 86% of the keywords that we target reach page 1 within 6 months. And then we've got over 30,000 active full service customers. We're in 15 different countries, 9 different languages. Now, for me being a nerd, because I am a nerd, that means that we've got valuable data that tells us what's happening inside of the world of SEO. So when Google does an algorithm update or they're trying to understand what's happening with websites and what's going on, we have real data that helps us tell everybody what is happening in the Google world. So we have real data that's telling us what's happening. Now, with SEO, we need to understand how important it is. 5.6 billion Google searches every day. Every day. That's everything from, can my dog eat this? To, I got locked out of my house, I need the closest locksmith. Or if I'm trying to purchase something, I need to make sure, if I'm buying a phone case, what are the reviews on this phone case? What does it look like? What does it feel like? If I drop this, what happens? People are searching on Google for regular everyday questions. In the past, we used to just ask our parents and our parents would just guess, I think this is the answer. Now we've got Google to tell us exactly what we need to be looking for and what's going on. If we were to take that 5.6 billion Google searches and we were going to do it every second, 63,000 Google searches a second. Now, it's important to note this bottom figure here, that 81% of people were researching online before buying. Think about that. when I went, so I used to live in Australia, and when I moved back to the US, the doctor said my son had a severe asthma attack. And he said, Nick, you need to go to get an air purifier now. Ideally, I wanted to go on the internet and purchase the air purifier. But he said, you need to get it done today. So what did I do? I went to a local store. I first looked for the store and found the best one with air purifiers closest to me. So there's one search. And then when I went into the store, I noticed that they had a variety of different products. Rather than having that individual come and speak to me, what did I do? I searched on my phone to figure out what the best option was for me based off of all the products that they had, both with price and with reviews. Everybody is doing some sort of that, and it has now become second nature. We don't even think about, oh, I'm going to look at the Google reviews, the map. I'm going to understand how many reviews they've received. Oh, it's 3 stars instead of 4. I'm going to go with this 4. Oh, wait, this 4 only has 1 review. All of these things naturally go through our heads because of how much we're utilizing Google. We just need to make sure that we're creating the best opportunity for us to get onto the first page. Okay. Now, on this next slide after this, I'm going to explain how the search engine results page works, but these little stats here are very important. 84% of searchers will skip paid ads. So if you notice when you're searching, the initial 4 or 5 results will be ads. People are going to skip that 84% of the time and click in the organic section. 99% of people don't scroll onto page 2. 61% of clicks go to the top 3 organic listings. And then 46% of searchers look for local listing. So let's talk about how that search engine results page works. Okay. So think of it as you've got the top section, that's the ad section. Then you've got the maps. And then after the map, you have the organic section. 84% will click there. Okay, so this is the ad section here. This is the map, and then this is the organic section. 84% of people. So imagine if you had a billboard, right? And you're paying for that billboard and for that billboard to be seen. And you're only getting 16%. That means you have to delegate more tasks or distribute it to other valuable sources for you to be found. Okay. So when I like to think of SEO, and I've been in the SEO world since 2009, and I always get asked, Nick, what do you do? Explain to me what SEO is. And I always explain, SEO is search engine optimization. We go to your website, we update your title tags, your H1s, your meta descriptions, working on your robots, your sitemaps, all these nerdy things. And I can just see this cloud of, okay, this guy is a nerd. and I'm just stuck there talking, right? I like to think of SEO as this. SEO is the work that goes into your website to build relevance and trust so that it ranks or appears on the first page of Google. I love it. Why do I care about this definition so much? Work, relevance, and trust. Work, because it takes actual time. If you're doing SEO correctly, you need time for Google to understand what's happening on your website, what's happening off of your website, so that when Google goes back to your website, they know that other websites are talking about you and that you've got a well-organized website. And we'll talk about relevance and trust. Okay. Relevance has everything to do with how your website is set up, both from a coding standpoint and from an overall content standpoint. So when Google comes to it, they want to make sure that it's organized so for them to know, okay, you know what? This guy has this specific thing here and this specific thing there. Trust has everything to do with what is off of your website or what other websites are talking about yours. So when Google comes to your website, I wish they were able to see pictures and the way that it's organized and all these beautiful, beautiful things. Unfortunately, it's not there yet. So when Google comes to your website, they see your website as a block of coding. Could be very long, could be very short. What we need to do is make sure that we organize that coding so that when Google goes to it, they know in specific highlighted areas what you should be ranking for, what services you provide, where you provide those services. Okay. Now, trust Google will go off of your website, and then they'll scan the internet, and they'll say, all right, what other websites are talking about this website? Once they identify the other websites, they'll check and see where they're coming from. So where those links are they on a relevant website? Is it just some random website? But in doing that, we're going to create a variety of different links that are pointing back to your website in industry related websites, so that Google says, oh, right, we've got a yoga studio in London, and we've got 10 or 15 other different types of blogs or industry related gym type links pointing back to it. And Google will say, oh, I like that. There's actual authority. You've got other gym or yoga type websites talking about this yoga website. And in doing that, your ranking will increase. Now, over time and Google going back and forth, they're going to understand, you know what, you've got the best opportunity. Now, if you were to ask any business owner, what are the best types of customers that you get? Where do they come from? And they'll say from referrals, right? But imagine if you're just starting off, right? Imagine if Amy over here just started her yoga website or her yoga business, right? And she's trying to get people into her studio. She's not going to have a lot of people out there who understand what's happening with her studio. But imagine if Google becomes that friend, and Google is creating those referrals for you. Our goal is to transform your website into a long-term asset and referring people to you, both with reviews and with finding you online. We want to create the best opportunity for you to be found for the services that you provide where you're located. Okay, so we want to create an amazing long-term asset for you. Okay. Any questions so far? Just want to make sure we're good. We looking good?
We've had a couple questions so far. So someone said, do you have to have a website? They only have a link tree at the moment.
Great question. I always love having a website, right? Think of it as this. If I'm going to a reputable business, right, and I want to understand what services they provide, what are their hours, if I have any questions, who do I contact? If I don't want to call, do they have a form, right? Having a website answers a lot of those questions. It is your online business card that creates all of the answers or a specific location for you to have that, all of the answers that you need to provide, right? So it's important for you to have that.
And another one, so Nikki wants to know how many ads will typically appear on page 1 of Google.
Of course. First of all, Nikki, it's a beautiful name. I love the name Nick. So you got that going for you. How many ads? I've seen up to 6, but on average, and usually what I see is about 4 or 5. So majority of them will be at the top, probably 3, and then there will be some at the bottom, and there might be 1 or 2 there. So beautiful. Any other question?
That's all so far. Everything else was easy enough for me to respond to.
Perfect. Let's move on. So when setting the expectation and understanding how Google works, with this work, relevance, and trust, and for Google to go back and forth between these websites, we need to make sure that we're setting the right expectations when it comes to timelines. So when we're looking at your website, we're going to look at the way that the website was built. We're going to make sure that it's organized in a way for Google to understand it, like I explained previously. And then we're going to go off of your website and start building trust. On 2 to 4 months, you'll see a significant improvement in your rankings. I've seen something where we've seen a customer who went from the 11th page, where we couldn't find them, who goes to the 11th page, all the way up to the 2nd or the 3rd page. And then our goal is to get you on the first page of Google in 6 months and really, really secure that foundation on the first page, right? So we don't want to get there and say, oh, I'm done. I got a question for you, Amy. Imagine you have a class, we'll say it's a yoga class, right? And you've got lovely Nick, me. I am not the best at yoga. And I go for 6 months and I'm starting to get some traction. And then I just stop, right? And I come back in 6 months and then I get frustrated because I'm not as good as I was 6 months before. Why do you think that is?
Because you're starting and stopping and you're not having a consistent practice.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens with Google as well, right? Imagine we're doing all of these amazing things. We're organizing this website. We're creating amazing, beautiful links, pointing back to this organized website. We do that for 6 months, and Google's seeing us as healthy and flexible and beautiful. But then we stop. In the first month, we probably won't see a significant change in your ranking. But if you stop SEO, I've noticed that if you stop doing SEO, about 6 months later, you can drop from 3 to 6 pages. And it's not like Google's penalizing you. It's not like Google's saying, hey, no, you know, these guys aren't good. We don't like them anymore. What's happening is exactly what Amy was saying, is you are no longer creating this relevance, this amazing trust that Google had. You're no longer as visible, you're not creating and practicing, and you don't have this consistency. And because of that, your ranking has gone down. I've seen that go all the way down to 6 pages, and it's pretty difficult to explain. But you shouldn't be frustrated if you quit going to yoga and you're chubby. So that's the way I like to think of it. So the way that we like to do our SEO is this method that we've got here. So we want to identify quality keywords. We want to understand them. We want to make sure that if somebody's searching within a specific area, that you are found for the services that you provide. And then we're going to create relevancy. So we're going to specifically look inside of the title tags, the H1s, the meta descriptions. We're going to create a relevancy so that when Google goes to that specific page, for example, if you're doing hot yoga, we want to make sure that hot yoga is in specific areas of that page. So when Google goes to it, they understand it. Think of it as when you're highlighting a textbook, we're doing the exact same thing for Google. Now, once that's done, we need to create a variety of links and types of links, pointing back to that website from relevant websites, okay? And then we're gonna make sure that we're reviewing these links, these tasks, and how Google sees them regularly. And then we're gonna make sure that we reach out to you and make sure that you understand exactly what's happening with your account. And once you get to the first page of Google, it's like going to the gym, you can't quit going, you gotta keep on going. And then once we get ranking for yoga and hot yoga and then studio, we're gonna continue to branch out for all of the services that you provide within that area. And once you get in solid base there, we'll start to branch out and grow that circle around your actual business, okay? Now, what questions are there? I tried to keep it as simple as possible when we're talking to SEO. The valuable thing is, based off of the knowledge that we've got and how Google works, we'll be able to help you with everything that you do. Now, Bruce, it seems like you have a question.
I've got a couple, hopefully one on behalf of the people on the webinar here. So 2 things. One, when I started my early businesses, I've had 5 or 6 yoga related businesses, from opening studios to a yoga shop to all sorts of things. Now, in the beginning, I did everything myself. I designed the logos, I built the website, I did everything. So an obvious question would be, is it possible, is it realistically possible for somebody to do some of this SEO themselves? Is there any quick fixes they can do themselves that doesn't require them to shell out and employ someone to actually do it? So is there anything they could do right now that would make some difference or a major difference even without actually buying anything?
Yeah, I think one thing that any website owner could do is create a blog, right? The reason why I love the idea of a blog is you're creating relevant content that goes on your website that explains everything that you do, stories. It creates relevant copy that Google will be able to see and then kind of build up a word cloud on your website. Often when it comes to yoga studios, what we see are beautiful images, and sometimes we include sound and all these beautiful things, but we often neglect the text that's on there. We need to make sure that there's enough text for Google to find you relevant for what you provide, for the services you provide. So I would create a blog, and then within that blog have a regular writing schedule. I think anybody and everybody could do that today, and it will help them with their SEO in the long run.
Great. And a second question quickly. So to balance that out, so despite being somebody who kind of thrives on learning and understanding everything, even if I do it myself or not, I keep an eye on things. And I think it was just the other day I saw an update coming through that Google has done a major update to their core web vitals. Now, that probably means nothing to most people, but core, as you'll know better than me, core web vitals are something like 200 plus things that Google looks at and determining how it's going to rank you. Now, I saw an update coming through saying the drastic changes to that, where they're going to look at the experience of the user on things like page load and design even, and things like that. So again, have you got any kind of updates on some of the changes Google's making or the direction Google's going? Because I know they're quite secretive usually about what some of these factors are that they use to rank you. But can you talk just a little bit about that, about how frequently Google change those things, and what the impact is on business if you haven't got somebody who's doing SEO for you?
Of course. Number one, the value of working with us is we understand what's happening. We have a pulse and understanding what's happening every day with Google. And every day Google's doing an algorithm update, right? Now, this Core Web Vitals, basically what they're doing is they're trying to make sure that when somebody lands on a website, from their website, so think about it, google.com is their website. Still blows my mind. Anybody who's on their website is their customer. So they want to make sure they're providing their customers the best opportunity when they're clicking from their website. Now imagine if you are that referring business and you're saying, go to this website, and it takes forever to load, right? Or other people who have gone to that website and come back quickly, right? What Google is doing is they're making sure that there are basics that every website has in order for it to progress, such as page speed and proper organization with their sitemap, their robots.txt, and several other factors, including link quality from other websites and whatnot. The value of working with us is we already know exactly what's happening with Google, and you do not need to worry about that. Our system has flags that will be able to tell you what we should and should not be doing, or if we need to make a change with any algorithm update that happens. Core Web Vitals has been happening for the last year and a half behind the scenes. It's not a new thing for an SEO person, but anybody who's just reading blogs or random tweets or whatever goes out will just be finding out about this and might be freaking out. The good news is the tasks and the items that we've identified that should be happening on every account, we've already accounted for it, and we've made sure that it's part of just the natural way that we build our links. So it's an amazing opportunity for us to understand what it is, but our system and our tasks that we're already working on already account for it. But basic understanding of it is Google's trying to make it so that there's a quality of website that everybody has when they're referring business from their google.com to that end website. I hope that makes sense.
And that does make sense. And in fact, that's a big part of what we're doing in Yoga Alliance Professional, is that quality element, to make sure when people's looking for a training course or a yoga teacher that they're reaching the highest quality trainers and teachers. So it makes sense, a lot of
exactly.
I notice Kelsey's got her hand up. Can we unmute Kelsey? How does that work?
Yeah, I'll just do that just now. So we've got a couple of questions as well, but we'll go to Kelsey first. Kelsey?
Looks like you're muted, Kelsey.
Yeah, we'll go to the questions just now and see if we come back to anything changes. So again, Katia asking about Linktree. She's asking, is it best to leave Linktree and get a website instead? I will just add something in really quickly here. Katia, I know if you're using things like Instagram, Linktree can be extremely beneficial because it lets you put in all the links that you need in one place. But I'll let Nick explain why a website and Linktree are two separate things, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and I don't think, I know that Amy just gave you the best answer when it comes to having Linktree, right? I think there's 100% value in it. Do not leave it. Having a website, I think it is a basic necessity that you should have with your business. And I think you should have both, right? So when you're referring from your social media to a specific website or variety of different pages that you've got, Linktree creates that amazing opportunity that you need. But you need to have a website where people can get the answers, and Google specifically can get the answers for what they need to refer their customers to.
Perfect. And one from Hazel. So she's saying she's asked her class members to do a Google review, and they all did it within a couple of days. Would Google realize that you've solicited the reviews and as a consequence penalize you in some way? Is it better to space out the requests?
Great question. The answer is yes, you need to space out the requests or make it something consistent, right? So if all of a sudden I get 1,000 reviews and then it dies off from there, that doesn't make sense. What I'd recommend doing is, hey, team, when you go home, I'd love for you to provide a review or identify 4 or 5 specific students that you've got. Say, hey, I'd love a review from you. Can you please help? And then the next week, identify 5 more, and then just continue doing that. Another call out that I would have is Google also can track where they are located. So I'd recommend that they go to their house and create that review. But if all of a sudden you get 10, 15 reviews in your specific location, that can look like you solicited as well. So I'd recommend send them home, or you can send out an email. I've seen a lot of customers who say, hey, thank you for your service today. Please provide us with a review. And then often people will do that later on. But to a whole class, I wouldn't recommend. I would identify 3 or 4 people, give them the link and say, please do this at your house. That'd be greatly appreciated, and then move on from there.
Oh, and Kelsey managed to get back. She was having difficulties unmuting her mic for some reason. She said that she started using a company that's doing Google ads to promote her business. Should she still be doing this?
I think Google ads are valuable, right? If I had 16 out of every 100 people who will click on that, that is an assurity. I know it's going to happen at some point, right? So I think it's valuable for you to have that. But that 16%, I hope that is not 100% of your budget that you've got dedicated to it, right? I would allocate some of that budget to SEO and other buckets to make sure that you have a diversified portfolio with your marketing efforts online. So you need to make sure that you're doing stuff socially, Google ads, and then definitely SEO. That is the proper resolution that I would have for that.
Perfect. That's all we have for now. Does anyone else have anything else?
I'm going to jump in if they don't, but let's just see if anyone throws up. Okay, so thanks, Nick. I want to put a couple of things in that hopefully help the guys here. First of all, I put together the yoga marketing for years. People used to ask me, what services do I use? What software do I use? What solutions do I use in building Yoga Alliance Professionals or Union Yoga or the Yoga Shop or any of these businesses I've worked with? And so eventually I decided it made sense to reach out to all the partners I'd worked with over the years, including Nick, and pull that collectively under yoga marketing so that we can offer these services to you guys. So there's all sorts of things under there like Katja. If you decided you also wanted even a one-page website, which is a great way to do things, optimize a single landing page. If you've got one particular thing you're trying to promote, then we can do that. But more importantly, when I speak to people or coach people or do business consulting, quite often people will say to me, I get it. I can see I need SEO, but I can't afford it. So here's my solution and my answer to that. Instead of thinking money out your pocket, think of a different way to fund it. And it's this. If I came to you and said, could you do a workshop for 10 people on a Saturday afternoon for 3 hours, teaching yoga and charge them £50? And most teachers or trainers I speak to say, yeah, absolutely, I can do that, no problem. There's £500. So you invest that £500 in SEO, SEO brings you more people in. You run another workshop the following month. You've got more people coming in. You get more people in the workshop. Now you bring in 750 in a workshop. You invest it in. You increase your business. So it's entirely possible to grow your business without taking any money out your bank, by simply using what you're passionate about and good at, which is teaching yoga. So instead of thinking I'm losing something, you're thinking it's an exchange. In exchange for me doing 3-hour workshop on a Saturday afternoon, I can now boost my website. The second thing to consider, I learned this, it took me a long time in business to learn this. Once you learn it, it makes a big difference, is how much is an hour of your time worth? And what I mean by that, is it worth me sitting down trying to work out how to build myself a website? Or is it worth me teaching that workshop for 3 hours and paying a professional to build my website, or to do SEO, or to do branding, or whatever it might be? And the answer, pretty much 100% of the time, you'll find, there's the odd exception, but you'll find that at every level, it's more beneficial that you get the professionals to do it, and you use that time that you would have spent on that to teach and generate income or generate leads from that, which then can pay for these services. So the fast track way in business is, don't think of, I haven't got the money right now. The most successful people in the world are those who get resourceful. So most people I speak to say, I haven't got the resources. So I haven't got the staff, I haven't got the time, I haven't got the money. And these are resources. The most resourceful people also haven't got that, but find a way to do it in a different way. So they get someone to sponsor them, or they run a workshop and it pays for it that way. So if you're sitting there thinking, God, I really probably need SEO on my website, which is probably most of us, me included, then think of it not as, but I can't afford it right now. Think, how can I afford this? Yes, I can run an extra class. I can do a couple of private lessons, or I can run a workshop, and that pays for it. And that's how you build the business with no money or very little money. So don't let money be a block. The second thing, Nick, one question, I think you might have covered this, but I want to emphasize this a little bit. What is a realistic, because actually we use Nick to do the SEO on Yap just now on Yoga Alliance. So what is a realistic time scale? I know you're saying obviously you've got to keep it going, but that initial period before you can expect to see reasonable results and reasonable movement, is it a month? Is it 2 months? Is it a couple of weeks? What is it?
Now, the goal is, with SEO, if you remember the definition that I gave, right? SEO is the work that goes on your website to make it relevant and trusted so it can appear on the first page of Google. That work, minimum, we should at least have 4 to 6 months. The reason why is you need for Google to go to your website, to the referring websites, then go back to their search engine results page, compare you from their competitors, check and see how people clicked on those competitors compared to you, and then do that over and over and over again to then get you onto the first page of Google. Then when you're on the first page, we need to make sure that you're secure and planted there. Now, your initial investment, let's say if you're dedicating 40 or 50 hours of work a month for 6 months to get you on the first page, then you're ranking for a variety of keywords. You don't just stop all across the board, but maybe you move that down from 40, 50 hours a month to 20, and your overall investment on a monthly basis goes down just to maintain where we're at.
Yeah, and just so people understand a bit better, because I've just recently went through this process with Nick for Yoga Alliance Professionals. I know that some of your guys and your team did the research and came back with what some of the keywords people were using. And it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I think we were looking at teacher training courses and how to become a yoga teacher and stuff like that. And I remember being quite surprised that some of the key phrases and keywords that came back, I would not have thought about that. And I've used software like Moz and stuff like that. And even within that, I wasn't finding some of this information. So it certainly was, it was useful to even put those kind of ideas in our head as to the actual language people were using when they come to search for this stuff.
Yeah, I think the main thing for us is making sure that we're creating a story, and we're making sure that if there's people like you or Amy or other businesses out there that are trying to be found, we want to understand what people are searching for. So we need to make sure that there's a basic understanding of that. And we make sure that that's the case. So we've got valuable tools that we use on a daily basis to make sure that we're creating the best opportunity for our customers.
Yeah, and that's something, again, I want to emphasize. When I ran the yoga shop, we had these amazing German-made mats. In fact, it's the same factory that used to make the Manduka mats, which will make sense to most people on here, but probably not you, Nick. And we used to say there's no point in having the best mats sitting in a warehouse and nobody can find them. And it's the same thing. You might offer the best training course out there on the planet, but if nobody can find you, then you're left wondering, wow, what's happened? Why is nobody signing up to my training course?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's definitely a big part of that. So anyway, the offer, I said I was going to do an offer. So I spoke to Nick a couple of days ago prior to this, because it's really important to me that as a member of Yoga Alliance Professionals, that we managed to acquire some sort of special deal. Let's call it an ethical bribe that can help you get into this, because I genuinely know, doing it myself with Yoga Alliance Professionals, that this will make a difference to your business. Now, it might not be the right time. You might feel it's not the time for you to do this, and that's okay. We'll always be there for you to come back to. But if you're at the stage you really want to try and grow your business and you want to go all in and make this happen, then I've spoken to Nick, and he's kindly agreed that he will double the hours in the first month. So after this, Amy's going to send you a link to the yoga marketing website, specifically the SEO packages that we've got that'll be working with Nick and his team. You can select the number of hours you want, or if you don't see the number of hours, email us. All the information will be there, and we'll work out a custom package for you. And Nick and his team will double the hours in the first month to give it that boost, to give it that kick. Now, there's no tie-in. You can cancel at any point. Again, you've heard Nick say probably 3 to 6 months to really get established. You could do that and duck out if you wanted. Hopefully, you'll see the results and reap the benefits of the results that generates more leads and more students that you'll be inspired to continue with the SEO. But the offer is, if you sign up this month, then you will get double the hours in the first month. So we'll just give it that boost for the first month, get things moving. And if that sounds good for you, then all the information you need is on the yoga marketing website, or you'll have the email to reach out if you want a custom package. And if it's not the right time for you just now, look at the blog thing. Nick said, try and get a blog up, get some blog content. That will make a difference. So you can try and do some of this stuff yourself. It will make some difference to it, and getting some reviews from people. So I just want to thank everyone. I'll just double check there's no more questions. Amy, is there anyone else? No,
there's no more questions, but I have left the link in the chat, and I will also leave the yoga marketing email address as well.
There you go. So I want to thank everyone for their time. I know it's always a tough push to come in mid-afternoon for something. I hope you got some value of that. I want to thank Nick for taking the time to come. Any last things you want to add, Nick?
Yeah, if there are any questions, or if you'd like for me to review your website with Amy or with Bruce, I'd be more than happy to review your website and tell you what I would specifically recommend and how we would be able to help you get on the first page of Google. Right,
wow.
That is the end goal. So I'd be more than happy to help with that. I think Bruce and Amy, if you want to just help me figuring out the scheduling of that, I'd be more than happy to help with that.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's an amazing offer. I can see there's 26 people still on here. Honestly, guys, if you don't pick that up, I'll be picking it up. So thank you so much, Nick. That really is an amazing offer. So if you guys are after that, Amy will reach out and put something in the chat. Let us know what's going on. And wow, that is just fantastic. Thanks so much, Nick.
No problem. No problem.
And look forward to seeing you guys again soon in the future. And take care. Have a great day.